Hello, good morning, everyone. This is ready.
Hey, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Manoj, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Hey, Riti, or Sergey, if it's there. I know we had planned for Universal Memory Framework discussion today, and I was not sure. I had not sent out any reminder yesterday. I just wanted to see if Intel is available today for that.
Okay, let me ping Sergi.
Okay.
He said he was going to, I think the plan was he's going to get the approval internally from his management and then send a note.
Okay.
Right.
Hi guys, you're talking about UMF?
UMF, yeah.
So yeah, so I think we're almost done with the approval, just needs final confirmation. And as I remember, next week is a holiday in US.
Next weekend? I didn't realize that.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Next Friday, I think.
Oh yeah, it is. Veterans
I didn't
Day.
know that. Wow. Okay. All right. We got
Veterans
one day free. Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Because I am in Europe, so we have no holiday. So I'm working next Friday, but I believe most of you will be out.
So you won't be able to do that today. Next week is off. So I guess it's the following
11/17?
11/17 then, Sergi?
Yeah, preliminary we can plan for.
Yeah, see if you can close
it.
it by then. I think 2 weeks is, you should be able to close it, right? So
yeah.
The second one was also with Intel. Pecan was still working to get the Agilex CMS type 2 demo.
Do we have Pecan?
Yes, I'm Manoj and Reddy. I'm here. I got a feedback from the team that they are not available till probably end of November because they are working on some research work.
Okay.
End of November.
One thing Pecan we can do also is meanwhile is maybe if you have the presentation material that you had used for demo, we can start with that before that, but up to you, or we can wait till first week of December.
Yes, I let me get the permission from them, Manoj, at least.
Okay. Okay.
And then if they are okay with me presenting, I can definitely present.
Got it.
So tentatively planned for December 1st then? Friday
Yes,
is
Reddy.
the 1st of December. So shall we do that, Pika?
1st of December. Yes, that should be fine.
Okay.
I will get a confirmation and I'll send you all the details before that offline.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
12/1 then. Got it. Okay, I think that is what we had from the last meeting. Carry forward. And then I know they're working on the experience center feedback collection right now, right? Ready?
Yeah, so I'm just going to verbally give there because I got only feedback from a couple of folks.
Okay, we'll just select agenda first and then we can come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can give update on where we are on the spec that was contributed by Meta and Google.
Yeah.
Okay. And what else do we have? I think that's we had. Then we wanted to talk about the roadmap for the. Oh, so there was another one was GitHub. If you have any update, if not, we can just keep tracking it basically. Okay. Any other agenda item? Yeah, I missed or anybody wanted to bring up for the discussion?
Manoj, so
Yeah.
there has been some discussion on creating parallel work streams. And yeah, you remember this one.
Yes.
Right.
So we need to bring it up. So we can pick that up also today, where we can discuss the roadmap that we had presented, and we can discuss through that. And as part of that, we can create a work stream.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right. Let me just then get started on this. Okay. Just to maybe one quick update on the spec contribution. We do have first spec that we discussed in the project meeting last week. First spec for CMS. It has gone through the steering committee review earlier this week. I think it was yesterday, maybe or day before yesterday. And it has gone through that. So I think we are making good progress. I'm not quite sure. I think there may be a 2-week review process.
Yeah.
I don't know whether
There's a
it's
2-week review process,
something.
and then yeah. And then.
Okay, so it is in that process now. Right now, we have passed most of the requirements in 2 weeks. So we should, within 2 weeks, we should have first spec from CMS. And as we discussed last week, this is a first spec presented. I don't know if Brian or Prakash are online, but they reiterated the point there during the steering committee that they would like to see this as a beginning of the work and get more contribution as we look into the next generation, next revisions, etc. What's that spec? And I know a lot of people had interest and comments on the spec that was submitted last week. So I look forward to this as a first step, first being our specification, and as we continue to evolve this use case. And Siamak, do you have a comment?
Anybody has had any comment on those specs since they presented it last week?
Just to, by the way, this spec, I have also put it on our wiki for our review, if anybody wanted, and also it was sent out. So I don't have received any comments since then, but there was a lot of discussion.
Yeah, I think procedurally for specifications that come through this way, it is very likely the team has already done a lot of good work. They're probably not looking for feedback before, for example, spec 1.0. But if the teams see something that they would like to enhance it before it goes out as 1.0, that's a good time. But everybody else will have chance to enhance it later after it comes and gets contributed.
Maybe that's the way we can also then.
Hey, sorry, Manoj. This is Mahendra.
Okay.
Manoj and Shyamak, I was so I went through the spec first time last week. Last week I missed the meeting, but I have a quick question. So is this spec is only for DRAM media, or it can be other media?
No, it's only for DRAM. Yeah, we specifically talked about this in the last review, Mahinder. So the existing spec only covers the DRAM media. But we also talked about needing to do revisions if there is actually pull for CXL and VM type of media as well in future.
This particular spec includes the use model that Meta and Google presented. It is not intended for all use models. So just look at it from that particular perspective. Others, of course, are encouraged to provide other specifications or enhancements to this specification to provide other use models as well.
Yeah. Just to add to that, if Prakash or Brian are not here, at least from Prakash's point of view, maybe from Meta perspective, we have published the use case to CMX point. We have published the use case which allows you different types of media, but since it's a controller specification, right now it is specifically targeted to the media that can be used right away, which is DDR4 and DDR5 memory. But as we said, I mean, we can always have more discussion in the future.
We can always do the routes, right? If there is a need and the pull, absolutely.
No spec will be complete as a whole universally.
That's right.
Supporting everything. But what we do as a open community, very similar to what this team did, they are building on other specs that have been published. They did reference JEDEC CXL memory spec, and they've also referenced CXL specification. As part of their spec, they're going into a little bit more detail about certain things. The next contribution from somebody might reference this particular spec. Says, oh, okay, so we like compression this particular way. We like the number of DIMMs to be this and that, similar to this. But we would like to change in some other area, for example, emerging memory or something else. So that's how we move things forward.
Yeah.
So Manoj, if I could, I don't ask a few questions and maybe make a suggestion. So I think, to me, it's like we just got I looked at the presentation last week as kind of, okay, here's the overview, and then now we got the spec. So, and I forwarded that around internally. I think what would be helpful is some formalization of the process where you say by this date, people should have digested it, and maybe we have one review meeting, and then, just describe what the process is with a timeline so that other people that are interested from the respective companies can marshal questions or, have a time element so they know when you want to be able to make this thing official. So that would be helpful in driving internal reviews and whatnot.
I think you made a very good point. What I'll do is basically I'll invite Rob Coyle next week to give the overview process. I think we had a little bit last time because of publishing the white papers, but I think it is a good idea to get to that, because this is right now, this specification comes through CLA, which is a legal agreement signed between two companies when they contributed. But your point is very valid. It needs to have clarity of that process. So let me take an action item to see when Rob or anybody from OCP Foundation is available to just walk us through the process.
Manoj, I may be able to help here.
Sure.
Specs like this, we've had several of these kind of specs that come in. One, two, or several companies have put together a base specification, sometimes at 0.7, sometimes at closer to 1.0 level. They believe that this is a complete specification as is, and they might not be looking for feedback at this time. That doesn't mean that when such a specification is provided to OCP, that's the end of it. It's just the beginning of having another effort. As an example, DCSCM 1.0 came out of two companies, but then DCSCM 2.0, a subgroup got formed, 25, 30 companies participated, and eventually completed a second version of that with community input. So this could be yet another one of those.
That's a good, I appreciate that. And I think maybe you can just also clarify to the team, when that subgroup is formed, what is the process to get it published also? There's a legal aspect of it also. So just want to make sure that people are aware of that.
Right, and Manoj, you mentioned the word CLA. Any contribution to OCP needs to come with licensing agreements. So the work that we're doing within this subgroup now, we're not producing specifications. So it is a little bit light on IP. That's why it is an open discussion. We don't have any CLA. But the effort for defining a particular memory controller, for example, might include some people's IP. If it does, then people need to provide CLA. In that case, similar to OAI or DCMHS or others, a number of companies need to sign a contributor license agreement before they start the subgroup and effort. And before they publish the final document, they need to have a final spec agreement. So that will be a much more formal way of handling it. In this particular case, totally outside of OCP, two companies worked together, came up with a contribution. Now they're producing that one to OCP with their license agreement as is. From here on, once it gets published, then the rest of the community can provide feedback and enhance it and even change it in the form of 1.5 or 2.0.
That's fine. I mean, whatever the process is, I just would like it to be defined because, for example, now as it's opposite of CXL, where it's kind of like you go through this review process and you do things, but now it's kind of like if that's CMAC, if the way you're describing is how the spec goes, it's mostly baked and then it's just going to move through and then kind of defer the comments later. That's fine. But it's also the reason I'm asking is then the people know at these other companies how much effort to spend on reviewing it now. So it's more having the timeline and understanding the process allows us to understand how to schedule work and reviewing this properly and when our comments will, can be made to
the van.
Yes.
So whatever it is, that's fine. Just I just like to have it stated somewhere so that we understand and I know how to calibrate it accordingly for the for our company. So.
Right. I'm sure Rob can point us to the documents that he has captured.
That's what I was going to say, is that it's easier to just point to the document. But as a part of the work items also, it might not be a bad idea for people to collect the comments that they have so that when we work on the sub-project, like Sam had suggested, we have those work items identified.
Yeah, what I asked the team was on that note. In other words, a cursory, maybe something's very drastic missing out of this contribution that needs to be addressed. But if not, we can let this go and then help make it even better for next.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Let's invite Rob anyway for giving the view and then pointer to the documents that we are looking for.
I have a generic, this is Durgesh. I have a generic question on the spec, which was sent out, Manoj. Thank you.
Yeah.
I went through it. There is no change on the CXL interface. The reason I'm asking is, of course, as NVIDIA, we have our own SoCs and we support CXL. I didn't see any change. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss out anything.
No,
there's no sideband required, nothing. I didn't see any manageability sideband, anything. That's what I was worried about, but I didn't find any additional signals or security manageability stuff.
Did you go through the detailed spec, Durgesh? So
yes,
I mean the interfaces.
Yes.
Talks about CXL interface.
Yes. So Reddy, that's what I'm asking. It is using the existing CXL interface. I didn't find any additional sideband signals which we have to add in SoC. And I'm just reconfirming if that's the right thing or I missed out anything in the spec.
Yeah, I mean, there are some sideband interfaces in the I3C and some GPIO UART. I don't know if you had something more beyond that.
No, I was just asking if there's anything specific to this because we have I3C and others which, excuse me, those interfaces in like any other SOCs, right? Xeons will have it.
Right. Yeah.
So from SOC side, no change required.
Durgesh, it is good for your team to look at it a little more detailed. My high-level understanding of it is that this is a requirement document for a CXL controller to do the functions they're asking. And you're right that some of these things are normally done, but the normally done needs to be clarified. What is normally done? It is not necessarily, the particular spec is not for a PCIe card, for example. So we cannot assume that whatever you do for PCIe card, you do for this. But it does make sense if one does.
Yeah. CMAC, you're right. We looked at it. I looked at it and there's another person looked at it. And I just wanted to get the validation from others that we are getting it right. That's why I brought it up.
I think it will be good to maybe provide that feedback. Maybe let's capture that as a feedback and provide that to.
I would say let's collect all these questions right now.
Yeah,
because as I said, I know this is the first spec submitted by Meta and Google, and it may have specific association with the way it has been looked at by these companies. And I know that the effort has been made to make no changes. And anywhere we have specification, there's a pointers to that, whether it's a CXL specification or JEDEC submitted specification for the controller. But let's collect all those questions, and I'll make sure that I'll bring Prakash and Brian again back into this meeting. I was thinking maybe they'll be here today because they have signed up. But I'll make sure that we have more discussion on that. But this will be a good repository of questions also as we start looking into the subproject for the specification.
Some of the comments I'm making, I'm trying to be as generic as possible so we can apply these things procedurally to next times. We normally would like to encourage people to publish their work. So this is an example. If somebody wants to make a contribution, we say, hey, voila, just tell us what it is, and we're going to look at it. We're not going to stop them from contributing. Then we say base specification is very generic. It is flexible. It is not necessarily a design or product yet. It is a high-level architectural framework and high-level requirements. It will require more detailed work to create a design specification. For example, a base spec might say, hey, give me a management port. It might not say exactly what it is. A design spec will say exactly what it is, how many pins it takes, and where to place it. That is work in our future. And after that will come a product spec. So perhaps what the team, Meta and Google are trying to do is to open up this spec to the level it is, start receiving feedback and your comments on how a good design spec should be, and then somebody should have a controller design spec, and somebody else should have a module design spec, because they did not contribute a module spec yet either.
Yeah, and by the way, just to be clear, I think our goal will be that eventually anything that goes into the specification for CXL or memory module from that perspective should go to the respective bodies of standards bodies. But I think you can still definitely have, this is something that I'm a little struggling. CMAC, maybe you can clarify. The OCP is not. Let me just finish the question for a second and let you come back.
Sure.
So where I'm struggling a little bit, and I need clarification from you, Rob, and OCP Foundation folks, is that OCP is not necessarily a standards body. So we may not have as detailed and rigorous process for spec review, comment resolution, etc. I don't know if any other groups have used it to that level. And this is where I think maybe we'll need a little bit more if you want to do a lot more spec definitions.
Right. Let me spend some time on that. It might address some of Durgesh's questions as well. As far as changing CXL spec, we're not, OCP is not a position to change the CXL spec. If you want protocol change, if you want command change, if you want even the management aspect of it, whatever is being covered by CXL specification, we can provide feedback to them, encourage them to work on it there. However, CXL spec is also a base specification. It is not a design spec. So, and we at OCP build systems. System design might say, I need 1, 2, or 5 such CXL controller. And to manage it, I will use the management ports in this particular way. And to power it, I need to do certain things. And to clock it, I need to do certain things. Those are the system level aspects that are not going to be covered by CXL spec. So we could, in fact, have a detailed design. We've had these things within OCP and publish them as common, call it standard if you like. It's a system level specification that people can follow and build products. A good example of it is OCP NIC 3. It is not saying what is PCIe, but it says you use a PCIe interface. But it does say, hey, the form factor is this. You have to have this particular connector, and we need managed to be this particular way.
Yeah, Anand?
Yeah, quick question. So what's the goal of the Meta and the Google to define this one? Because this is an SOC level definition, which we are talking about. The moment you talk about 4 channels and this and all of the thing, you're actually defining an ASIC specification, sort of, at least the envelope of the chip. Is that the goal, or is it just the feature set you're trying to define? Because
since we don't have the presenters who submitted it,
so that's first question.
Goal is for the controller,
not
for the model.
Is it an open standard pinout controller you guys are trying to figure it out? Because these efforts are not in the, these are very different type of efforts, like typically JEDEX and a lot of other people with physical stuff and all other thing experts are required on that. So are you talking ball to ball, pinouts, the dimension, everything getting defined in here? What's the goal?
And this spec refers to the JEDEX CXL memory controller spec. Those details you just talked about is captured there.
But the number of channels, the way the articulation which happened last week, which was DDR4, DDR5, how many channels. So those are actually SOC level definition or a feature level definition is what we're talking about.
And those are the ones that are not going to be covered by CXL Consortium or JEDEC.
Correct.
So therefore, some institution, SNIA or OCP or another special interest group, or maybe from a particular company, needs to be a list of requirements. Instead of such a thing being from one particular company, it is better that we work as a open community within OCP. So of course, we should encourage companies to offer their even requirements documents in the form of OCP specs so that it is shared.
I understand. I think let me repeat what I said. Are we trying here to really say that 3 vendors, 4 vendors who are actually in the controller development to do a pinout compatible thing? Feature is one aspect of it. The pinout compatibility is one thing aspect of it. Is that a goal? If it is not goal, that's a fantastic thing in my opinion.
I'm not going to say what in this particular case Meta or Google has been trying to do.
Okay.
What I'm trying to offer here to the team is a generic thing that has worked for me and my other companies and the community of server project in the past. It works this way, that we would like to encourage interoperable systems. We have seen that myself and other companies do things with their suppliers in a vacuum. You have a customer tells the supplier what they want. Now, the issue normally is that particular supplier will have only one customer, and that particular customer will have only one choice. When we bring those things to OCP in a form of a modular concepts, we are saying many things. In this case, Google and Meta are announcing that they have a common set of requirements. When they say that, if Microsoft and Oracle and other people join, well, suppliers will have some confidence that, hey, such a thing is going to have multiple customers. So it is a good win for the supplier. It is also a good win for customers because more than one supplier will respond. So these guys have a set of requirements, 4 or 5 different companies compete for that and maybe enhance it. And therefore, individual customers will have fungibility, choice. And that's the win-win that we have been talking about as part of this modular concept.
So let's make that distinction. At least this is my thinking, because it gets confused down the line as we go more deeper. Is the feature requirement document what the controller should do from management perspective, from the IO bandwidth perspective, what the media interface perspective. If you define, I mean, I'm sure the specification, I'm not yet read that, is the media interface management. These are, if you look at it, those are the features fundamentally should be adhered to. How the end vendor A versus B versus C versus D, they have a technology dependencies around that. And that basically should be completely left open, because this is my thinking. Okay, don't think that the failure of having 5 vendors defining a common footprint is a huge task. Brian is there from Micron, he can comment on that. And then we define an envelope around that. Hey, there is one solution. This is a chip solution from vendor A, and this is a modular solution. Okay, there could be 1 module, 2 module based on everybody's requirement. Because SNIA, exactly from SNIA perspective, we looked at this one much earlier and saying that, hey, we need 4 to 8 DIMM channels. Sorry, standard DIMM channels. How much area is required? What are the interfaces required from the IO perspective and the management perspective? Correct. So there is a lot of work which we had done around that, and we should leverage that as a feature requirement document we should put together. My last week's only thing I could not get and grapple on is that, is it a BGA level requirement document or not?
Just to add where it is right now, right? I mean, the document is where it is, right? It doesn't have any more details than what you said. Like there's no BGA layout or there's expectation. If you're asking for what is a long-term goal, that document is not spelling out right now for sure. But to CMX point, I think the goal is basically, hey, we see use cases. We have talked about use cases before, and we know the standards. And we're saying that, hey, here is additional information that we can provide. So when people are making products, actually, they have some commonality from multiple hyperscalers. At least 2 of us, basically, right now, we put it out there. We can take it from there and build it as much as we can. But this will be coordination of standards being defined and what product level requirements that start coming up and start aligning. As we talked about hardware, software design space, co-design part here, right? So we are putting out maximum information about hardware, the way we put out for software with the cache lab and the TPP. So this is in 1 step ahead. How far can we go without really starting to become a standards body is something that we'll have to figure out. But definitely the goal is to put out the requirements to little more granularity than what we put out through our use case. I know Pecan has been waiting also. Sorry, God's hand, Simon.
Yeah, just to follow up on these topics before I shut up. Anand, it will be clear, it should be clear today, OCP is not a place to force people to do things they don't want to do. This is an open community. That is one of the reasons people like me keep talking about modular structure of our specifications. As an example, even this requirements document is referring to other things outside of OCP even. So you could think of it as a module. For example, when you were talking about such similar things at SNIA, you mentioned, okay, I needed a memory controller with 2 or 4 or 8 memory channels. Okay, that is an aspect of designing a memory controller. Another aspect of designing a memory controller is how to manage it, the fact that it has a CXL port, the fact that it might have caching or compression engine in it. Each one of these things you can think of as being an independent set of requirement, a module by itself. So a spec that came out from Google and Meta is talking about, yeah, it has certain number of DIMMs per channel and so certain number of DIMMs, fine. But it also was talking about, it is good to have a compression in these kind of properties. If later somebody wants to build a different memory controller with even a different memory technology might choose to do the back end of it differently, but still follow the guideline of what JEDEC said and what CXL says and what this spec says in managing the compression, for example, or managing the caching, or managing the security. And this is all okay.
Anand, does that answer your question? And by the way, we'll have another set of discussions to trigger off our how do you say, sub work stream going forward to say that, hey, if you want to talk about next spec, what do you want to do? So I'll ask Brian and Prakash to join back and answer some more questions where we can take down the notes of additional. In fact, we can kick off a document also where people can dump in their questions and thoughts and what they want to do in going forward for the next stream, and we can go from there. Okay? Enough?
Yeah, no, this is good. Yeah, I mean, we see this is a good synergetic thing. Only thing question was fantastically on the packaging side of that, because that's the rough edges on that. I think this is a good thing, and I think we are basically fantastically fits into some modular form factor, as Simak was saying, SNIA, how many channels and all thing. It is working out beautiful. I think we have taken good management.
That's awesome. Awesome. Excellent. Thanks. Pekan?
Hi, Manoj. I think I would be repeating some of the Anand's questions again. The challenge which I see in the current spec is section 8, which talks about the physical specifications of the controller. And we actually go and specify the physical width as 25 mm and length as 50 mm boundary. These are the boundaries with all the caveats. Now, maybe technically there is a way to achieve these boundaries conditions, but what I'm trying to understand is, has there been a detailed analysis done at the package level that the ball pitch should be 0.8, the width should be 25 mm by 50 mm, and likewise? If yes, then it's good for Meta and Google to share those experiments, because at the end of the day, when you are trying to really build an ASIC, it takes many more variables than just the physical chip outs and pin connections to define a package. And I don't think by looking just at one of the vendor packages, you can define, okay, this should be my boundary conditions or that should be my boundary conditions. What we should do is, in this spec, focus on features, which is exactly what rest of the sections do, and let the physical limitations be free, because every vendor and chip supplier will solve the problem in its own way. They can all meet probably 90% of your spec, but in different ways. If we kind of constrain them in the physical and mechanical boundaries, then they all will become just same type of controllers, which will not be good for the controller business in general. That was
good one. That's a good feedback.
I think the way I see it, Manoj, is that as a hardware-based spec, this thing in section 4 clearly identifies its scope and goals. It's facilitating a discussion through a contribution that two companies that built something are making. And whether that leads to change of standards that apply and are referenced in this is a TBD. And I see this as a really concrete contribution that puts things together under requirements that are clearly itemized. So, you know, it is completely the kind of thing that I've seen done since Fusion IO days, when, you know, companies make this kind of contributions and either they are found useful and drive OCP supplier vendors to pull parts together that resemble it or not. we'll see where that goes. So I see its purpose as fairly self-contained, and in that also quite useful.
Yeah.
One important factor is, I keep repeating that we are part of OCP, Open Compute Project. We as a community should encourage everybody to share whatever they are willing to share. In this particular case, maybe you can, Google or Meta probably didn't need to share this with OCP. They could go directly to their suppliers and get whatever they want. Now, it's very nice that they are contributing that one to OCP. They're basically saying whatever they would have bought from those particular suppliers, and they're sharing it with us so that we can maybe repeat it if we want to. A comment about pin pitch and such, you could be assured that when Meta or Google presenting something in a form of, hey, if you build it this way, I can use it, they've done enough analysis. It might not match your analysis, but in this particular spec, they're talking about, yeah, I want it to be low cost, and therefore I don't want the PCB to be any more than 14 layers of such. Well, these are all guidelines. One can build something similar to this and be slightly different and have a design spec and saying, this, my design is this, it meets all of your requirements. And at that time, it is going to be a sales and marketing discussion with a purchasing organization. You can say, I did all of those things that that spec said, except for I did this. Is it still valuable to you? I assure you, those people will listen to you.
Yeah.
So is there any other feedback, specific feedback on the, I mean, if whoever has read it, I think we should just capture that and send it to the authors.
Yeah. And I think we should kick off the document anyway as a overall comments people have. We can always have requests for more information, but I think the whole goal would be for the, if you want to have another specification, what would we like to be covered? Because
the process,
as
yeah.
CMX said, they can always be multiple specification contribution. We want to try to continue to funnel to move it forward. All right, Anant, your hand is up. Perhaps it's from the previous question.
Oh, the previous one. Sorry.
Okay.
I think this is a great discussion. I think, and I believe that we have done some analysis. I think the the form factor what they are defined basically is definitely handleable in a lot of the module form factors which we are talking about. Actually,
Anand, let me just maybe encourage you and your team and others. There are very many smart people on the call today. I encourage you guys to go and bring your analysis and share it with this team.
Absolutely.
So that, hey, these guys said, hey, this is my product purchasing document, I'm sharing it. You offer it too, and a bunch of other smart people.
No, I think like this is absolutely correct. I think the form factor, the package guidelines and all of the things we had done some engineering analysis to really come out how many DIMM channel we can support and all things. So if you want some sort of a initial sketch engineering drawing with this kind of thing, we should be able to do that. And I'm working on it. Absolutely.
Please, right on. Let's do it. And Manoj, you were talking about different work streams. That could in fact be a wonderful work stream.
I think this is the why Meta has brought forward, right? Saying that, we wanted to jumpstart this effort of really bringing to the specification levels for what we think is actual adoption criteria for many companies. So we're starting this. I think this journey, we should have more people bringing in there, and then we can see how much we can merge.
Guys, actually, I need to just highlight the fact that Anand is a director on CXL Consortium. So it is wonderful that we are privileged to have a CXL director on the call. I'm sure there are other directors from JEDEC and SNIA on the call as well, or PCI SIG. The point is, those institutions choose not to go so much into the details of system level, productization level, and such. And OCP is, because we need to. So we need to bring all the aspects and build a wonderful stone soup or such.
Yeah, this is awesome. In fact, I just had some exchange with JEDEC president also today, that how we want to continue to stay engaged closely. And this kind of work actually it starts tying us together much closer. Perhaps we can have tighter MOUs or something like that. But I think this is a wonderful start for us because I think this allows us to have a roadmap for next year for amount of contributions we can get. Because we have got one example now, and I see a lot of excitement, very specific excitement, not generic excitement now. So this is very good progress in my opinion, at least. And so let's keep that momentum up. All right, I think so. What I'll do? I have 2 action items. Will get if you can create, if you guys can send out your questions more. We have captured some today, but I'll ask Prakash and Brian to come back again, maybe either next week or week after next, and have them answer any more questions on the specification after people's review if there are more questions coming up. And then we can also have activities together for spec update for next year as we come back in again in January or even in December, if anybody wants to contribute specifications and have discussions on that. Alrighty, moving to the agenda, back to the agenda. I think I was thinking of this as a quick update. It looks like I took a lot more time than I was thinking. Reddy, did you want to give quick update on the feedback collection for experience?
The real quick. I mean, I got limited feedback. I do need to follow up individually, looks like. I think in general, very consistent with what we actually talked in the last week. I think Pecan was talking about this, very similar feedback, which is it's I think the CMS Experience Center station is bit hard to actually find out that, oh, there is this CMS Experience Center station demos and here is the place and all that stuff. So the navigating to the actual the CMS station is one element. I think within the CMS Experience Center station, the fact that there are demos, confusing to know exactly which demo is what, because we did not have any labeling or anything, signage on the table. That was the second feedback. The third one was just sharing the demo with 2 demos on the same table is a bit tricky. It's just not, it causes more confusion than what's needed is kind of a feedback that I saw. So yeah, those were the high level 3 distinct items that folks actually set it out. So we probably have to figure out a better signage all the way leading up to the Experience Center station, and then probably figure out a better way of organizing these demos so the people know exactly where to go, what kind of demos, because at the end of the day, they're all a bunch of tables, bunch of people standing right inside the station. So it's not clear to folks that, okay, here are the demos that are actually being hosted. Here are the table numbers, so they can actually go to a specific table or set of tables when they are interested in specific demos. That type of flow control was missing. That was the feedback. I think the other technical feedback, there are 2 technical items that came through. One is, majority of the CXL demos, DRAM based, controllers. But we also had NVM SSD based CXL demos as well. So I think the audience appreciated the diversity of the demos as opposed to everything is CXL controller DDR based kind of a thing. Obviously, we had switch based demos as well. So the diversity of the demos was good in general. The other element was composable memory systems. This is probably a broader topic, primarily focusing on memory, but this hetero and composability need to focus broader, not just one, portion of the infrastructure element. That's probably nothing to do with the demos, but probably more higher level. How do you bring in all these elements in the OCP? There is a need for cohesive composability type of focus. This includes in-band, out-of-band, server, networking, right? Everything else, not just memory only.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think so. Reddy, I think we can think of maybe having some blog post or white paper, some blog post perhaps on this one, just what happened, what was done CMS Experience Center and how it was received.
You think it makes sense now? I mean, I don't know.
Just as what happened, right? I mean, just saying that, hey, OCP CMS had a demo with so many companies participating, couple of pictures of the floor.
Right.
It might just kind of capture as a what happened, right? That there was a demonstration of CXL is ready now, kind of, right?
Okay. Maybe
this is just
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Maybe a tagline would be
it's like
the Excel being ready, and here is drill down into the CMS Experience Center details. Okay, I see.
Exactly. Right.
I see.
It might be good, just kind of getting the visibility out there, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Think about it.
Let's check with Cliff to see if he, if he's willing to spend some time on this one, and maybe meeting with him today, right? Yeah.
They need normally like last time we had done the block. I've given them the content and then they massage it.
They can fine tune and publish it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's an awesome idea.
So we have 10 minutes. We have to just. I was thinking maybe at least let's get to work stream planning to start with. We can come back to it next week, but I was thinking that that what we had presented as 2024 focus areas, we can just at least share that and go from there. Let me just share the sheet here.
I added a couple of things in that slide.
Okay, it is. Okay. I'm just trying to get rid of these things here. Are you able to see the screen?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. So I know there's a long list in this, and Pankaj, let me know if this covers. We had a area also to cover work we are doing on the API side. We can look at it more detail, which may or may not be representing properly what we are doing right now. But there are multiple areas right now that we talked about during the kickoff for CMS Global Summit.
Right. Actually, the intersection of two of them, Manoj, in your fourth bullet, computational memory, and I think in the sixth bullet, API, they kind of intersect. So let me once you.
So what? What I can do is this is of course available online also, but let me take these items and at least not necessarily some of these, at least not the last three, and then send it out our email list, and so that we can think about how we want to form the work streams as we go to the next. So we can have a discussion next week. There are multiple areas that we had. See, our current swim lanes or work streams that we had worked on, even though we did not separate it out, was in these areas: native memory expansion, memory fabrics, fabric management and software API definition, near memory compute, and then the research and academics coordination work that Brian is doing. We can look at them and see, hey, how does it align with the 2024 focus areas? Does that give us more specific description of each of those areas, or does it require us to create additional work stream?
And here, 3 and 4 in the first set is also, kind of number 3 and 4 are areas where, for example, so there is good overlap with both pages that you showed. Somebody else was trying to say something.
That's good. So I think, go ahead, finish your thought. Then
I just wanted to share kind of a quick, very quick one single slide, if you guys want, to see how I see the work in this. And because it is not clearly separated out between those two areas, I will just quickly surface this. So in the left side, I have, what are the work items in the API side, which is considerations of consumers and providers and the ability to optimize above and below the line. And on the right side, there are things that we have learned from what we have already done, which is open formats. And I put arrow ++ because it's not just how you represent the data, but if you have algebraic specification, like if you have vector data in open format, and you say, just add these vectors. So there's no code to ship. So this kind of thing is happening in Apache Foundation. And then at the meeting in OCP Summit, we had some work on microscaling from Microsoft. There is no discussion yet on update intensive, what to do about that, and specific focus. How do you do parallel computing with a lot of intelligent devices? And then specifically around things that CXL3 will enable, which is could it be that devices could talk to each other if they're intelligent enough and are on a good east-west fabric that is enabled by unordered communication. So just I wanted to give you a quick glimpse of work items, and then what I can do is if the items stay separate like they are in your current pages, Manoj, then I will need to tease those out as, hey, which work do we do in which work stream?
So I was going to ask Reddy, in our software architecture specification, perhaps it might be a bad idea because everything is API. There's management API, but then there is a software API from use perspective. The way Pankaj is bringing it out here, it will be good to see how this work fits into overall picture that we have for architecture, and which block this represents, and that we actually maybe we can have a specific, because otherwise it can be very confusing for people which section is being brought out for what work.
Yeah, I mean, we probably need to separate this into a data plane versus control plane. The data plane is essentially a one set of focused activity, and control plane will be a separate one. Control plane, specifically, there is an element of in-band and out-of-band. And in the in-band, there is an element of standardization through the other industry forums as well, like DMTF as an example, right? So at least that's the way that is being parsed out in the white paper.
Actually, I had a discussion with one-on-one with Jeff Hilland. So I ran the control plane aspects of this, like how do you allocate a computational subsystem from a sea of accelerators, sort of aligning to the Google view I shared previously, and also had private discussions with and through the university with Google people. So yes, Reddy, DMTF alignment is actually comprehended. I don't want to go through those details again and how they are in the API right now, but I did have one-on-one with Jeff Hilland at OCP Global Summit.
Yeah, the other thing is, starting, I mean, the next year is not really, it's not like, it may seem like 1 year is a lot of time, but, it'll just quickly fly by. So it's important for us to actually look at what are the tangible set of deliverables that we can actually contribute in the OCP. This includes, the white papers, case studies, specifications. So if you force fit yourself into, here is what I'm going to deliver next year, and what does that map to from a work stream perspective, that will also be a good way to test the waters. I'm not saying that's the only way, but but forward looking can be, obviously can happen too.
So let me
Manoj,
say
can you bring
important.
out that the PowerPoint which you are
okay, sure. Yeah. Let me see what is it. Okay.
Yeah, you guys can edit and add some comments to that.
Yeah, the fourth...
I know by the way, we are at 9:57. So why don't we pick this up next week if you're okay? Let me send this out by email anyway, and a pointer to this sheet and document.
Sure.
And then next week, let's look at these two slides, our current swim lanes, and then the 2024 focus areas that we have suggested. And with that, this is a perfect time for us start doing planning for what are the swim lanes looking for 2024, and map these activities under them. If somebody wants to take a crack at it before the meeting, even better, so that we can start with a specific proposal.
Yeah, Manoj, I was waiting. This is Durgesh. I was waiting to ask one question. So I look at focus area. This is good. I don't know, based on OCP and other discussions, right? The biggest problem for CXL specifically is the latency question, which is coming up. So the good work which was started on performance and use cases, that also has to roll up in one of the work streams, maybe not separate, but has to be to make CXL successful. I want to get your thought on that.
You're absolutely right. Especially, I think we had talked about also use cases. There is a significant word that we see also from AI system needs perspective coming up. We need to expand that use cases, continue to expand
and performance. I mean, they go hand in hand because some use cases are latency. They will absorb the latency. So if we somehow as OCP CMS can provide a guideline that these kind of workloads are more latency tolerant, or we can repartition the memory that way. And then that will help the people, because that's a key question in everyone's mind, that how do we absorb CXL additional latency?
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Especially of what we had seen, and Nara is not here right now, but what we had seen for some of the non-AI use cases, some of the use cases were very latency forgiving, especially for the tiered memory. I don't know how AI is going to work out on this one. I don't have specific information, because the AI use cases seem to be a lot more performance driven. But
let's
we have to see whether it's
that.
bandwidth or latency.
Let's formalize that.
It's more bandwidth than the latency in the AI workload, especially.
We'll have a ton of discussion in this area, and I think some of the data we can start bringing forward soon. We don't have that right now, but it's a good point to capture here, saying that we need to have the discussion on the new use cases and their performance needs.
Yeah, and I don't see Vikrant today, but he has been also doing a lot of performance work. So
absolutely.
So
one way that I helped myself at least categorize these two based on latency was, do I need to change software or not? If latency is small enough that I don't have to change software, that was one use case. But if I needed software to help with me do the throughput or staging data ahead of execution, that was a different usage model.
I think that's a fair point, CMAC. We can put two buckets. Right now, I'm in without changing the software, because any ecosystem change is harder. So we can put two buckets, that one without changing it, what can be done underneath through kernel hypervisors and other means. And then other bucket would be if we have flexibility to rewrite or recompile.
Okay, looks like next week we won't have a meeting, right, Manoj? So
it's
after.
Let's just see. Is it confirmed that actually next week we don't?
I know Intel has a holiday. I don't know about.
It is a holiday for us also.
Yeah,
okay,
I think it is pretty much broad.
Then we'll be getting together on 17th, and that gives us 2 weeks for preparing some specific proposal for work streams. Looks like.
Yeah, so between you and me, we'll probably try to combine these two slides and create another slide that essentially brings in all these elements into the work, folds into the work streams, and then maybe some high level thinking of what needs to be done for 24 in terms of white papers. And then, the rest of the team can actually add comments now for 7 and 8 as well. So then maybe with that, we can have a discussion.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think and by the way, we'll come back with also on 17th. We also have the universal memory framework queued up. So
maybe 30 minutes then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll have 30 minutes on that.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Hey, 2 minutes over. Thank you very much. This was a lot of good discussion, and I'm looking forward to it again for the 2 weeks from now.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. No problem. Whenever you're done, just all or you can come from the backside and register. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really good. We're all good. Yep. Right now, yeah. Yes, the reason because we have done all those things and if the rain comes, there's a problem. He wants to do the. Can you have to name Steve Nofield and get PLS? Steve Nofield and PLS. Yes. Definitely the 16th and 16th. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So this one, I should send it to them, correct? Yep, that's the inspector, yes, that's the inspector when lock that up, he shows up in the inspection, you just hand it to him. First thing they say, where my setback certifications. Correct. And then I copy it and then I upload to the functions. That's what they want, yeah. That's the one. And I've got to scan it also. Yeah. Huh, sorry? I've already scanned my records too. But. Yeah. Survey now? I got your Birmingham plan here. So I was on 280 and up. Sorry about that. I was time texting this and that. I was not that thing because I just didn't completely got there. No problem. I was in the field all day. So just date, initial check number, amount. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks. Glad I can help out. No problem. Have a nice day and weekend. Yeah. हा झालं ते 25 मिनिटं काहीतरी काय केला कोणाला 25 मिनिटं बघितला मेजर केला काहीतरी लावून एवढंच काय सर्वे करणार असेल तर त्याला ते सर्वे करतात त्याला तो सर्वे आहे मी काय केलाय बहुधा पूर्ण फक्त बघितला का बिल्डिंग सेटबॅक कन्स्ट्रक्शनचं सेटबॅक आणि काय असं बघितलं काय म्हणतो $1600 त्याला 20 मिनिटासाठी म्हणजे काय चांदीच आहे त्याची नाही सगळ्यांचं पण तेवढाच होता एक तर तो एक म्हणे मला तुला सगळ्या सर्वे मॅप करायला लागेल तुमच्या डीड मध्ये नाहीये म्हटलं वाय नाही नाहीच आहे बरोबर नसतात ते काही काय कुणाला माहिती आहे काय एरिया आपल्याला लक्षात असत कुणी केलं नाहीये
नाही आपल्याकडे पूर्वीचा काहीतरी काउंटिंग मध्ये असेल ते असेल. काउंटीच्या मध्ये काय तो सर्वे मग खूप जुना आणि कुठला आहे कुणाला माहिती नाही. ब्रँड न्यू करायला लागतं आणि ऍक्च्युली ते लागणार आहे काहीतरी करायला तो आपल्याला. पासाचेच नाही झालं असतं. नाही सर्टिफिकेट लागतो ते मी विचारलं 3-4 जणांना. 3 जणांच्या कोर्टमध्ये $14 कोणी येत नाही. कोण एवढ्या $500 वगैरे कोण येत नाही.
मला काय वाटतं
हे काही नाही 2 तास ते त्या मागं त्यांनी पण त्या SMP वाल्यांनी पण तसंच घेतला होता ना. काय ते तुमचं ते इरोजन कंट्रोल सर्टिफिकेट तसंच आहे. ते काही नाही ते नुसतं ड्रॉइंग काढतात आणि देतात. $2000 घेतला त्यांनी. काय त्याला त्यांची ते प्रोफेशनल सर्व्हिस फीज आहे त्या. दॅट्स ऑल. नाही आपल्याला तो म्हटला इन्स्पेक्टरला ते द्यायला पाहिजे आणि तुम्ही अपलोड करा काउंटीला. त्यामुळे मला दिलं पण त्यांनी आता सर्टिफिकेट पण दिलं. हो ते काय ते एक फॉर्म डाउनलोड करायचा असतो त्याच्यावरती त्यांनी सही मारले आणि दिली आहे त्यांनी. मी काउंटीला अपलोड करणार.
सर्वे चला सगळा अख्खा सर्वे तरी त्याच्यामध्ये आपला होऊन जाईल. कमीत कमी रेकॉर्ड एक म्हणजे आपल्या बाउंड्रीज कळायला कधी पेन्सच्या त्याच्या सगळ्याला.
नाही तो सर्वे असतो तो.
अच्छा हे नुसतं सर्टिफिकेट. मग आता काय कशाचं काय त्याला ऑब्जेक्शन नव्हतंच कशाचं शेजारचं तुला जे वाटत होतं सारखं काहीतरी काढली का म्हणून करायच्या तिथं.
नाही ते माहित नाही तो बिल्डिंग इन्स्पेक्टर आहे त्याचा ह्याचा काय संबंध नाही त्याला.
अच्छा मला वाटलं सर्वे करणारा पण विचारणार का त्या किंवा तुझं त्या आपल्या इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशनच्या लाईन पासून नीट अंतर आहे का ह्याचं काय येईल का वाटतं तुला. ओके ठीक आहे जाऊ दे ते अखिल खाती जमा. अन्न हे आपल्याला पडलेली गोष्टी आहेत त्या इनकॉर्पोरेटेड मध्ये राहिल्यामुळे
काय माहित आता.
आता कुणाला तर आपल्याला झालं नाही सर्वे प्रकरण कुणाला नव्हतं. कोणाला शिल्पाला नाहीये अनगाला नाहीये आपल्यालाच पडलंय. त्यामुळं असं असतंय.
ठीक आहे
मोठ्या लोकांची मोठी दुखणी असायचं.
ठीक आहे झालं त्यांनी देऊन टाकलं.
चला बरं झालं मग त्यांनी सांगून टाका आता झालंय म्हणा.
मी अपलोड करतो अगोदर आणि सांगतो आणि म्हणजे मग त्याला आज अपॉइंटमेंट घेईल तो.
चालेल हा चालेल ओके. डबा विसरला तिकडं.
ठीक आहे
माझं सगळं विसरलं घरातलं पॅन्ट माझं.
ठीक आहे.